let's talk about the question that everyone is asking at the end of week 3. Which teams are actually elite in college football? We've talked about the struggles of teams like Georgia, of Alabama, Kansas State getting upset. Guys, games that we haven't talked about yet, but we obviously will. Florida knocking off number 11 Tennessee. It's a little pat on the back for yours truly. It just felt like the swamp was going to be too much for Tennessee, and indeed that's the case. Florida State, number 3 team in the country, nearly gets upset by Boston College. Of all teams, the red bandana game is always a special occasion, but boy, I didn't expect that result. 31-29. Now Washington blows out Michigan State, good for them. LSU blows out Mississippi State. But you look across the span of college football, Texas was struggling with Wyoming. I'm not sure if that game's gone final as we're recording, but it was 17-10. Longhorns, when we hit record, they were driving. Heck, even Colorado right now, guys, they're losing 21-14 to Colorado State, and the Rams are driving again there. There's kind of this feeling to me around the country that, you know what, there may not be an elite team in college football. It took Michigan 3 quarters to pull away from Bowling Green. So, Garrett, let's start with you. I mean, is there a team that you trust this season that you would say, yes, this is the team that can go 12-0. This is the team that is just a cut above everyone else?
Look, I mean, I think there's a couple of them. I already know, Teddy in the chat, he's going to be talking about Michigan. I know for sure. I think Michigan is still there. I don't think you can say for sure yet because they haven't played necessarily that level of talent, but they haven't shown me anything so far to make me worried. A little bit of a slow start today against Bowling Green, but ended up taking care of business. Also, same for Texas. They ended up winning 31-10 over Wyoming. I think that one went final. So, look, they took care of their business. I think, Notre Dame has looked really, really good. Notre Dame has looked really good in all phases. They haven't really slipped up anywhere. They have some playmakers. They have some really good players across the board. I think you have to think Notre Dame is one of those teams. And I think if you're going to look across the country, you have to start kind of peeking up there at the Northwest and starting to ask yourself, look, Washington, Oregon, couple of really good teams, couple of, high scoring teams that, Oregon scores. It goes 55-10 on Hawaii tonight. We'll talk about some more when we go around the country in the scoreboard, but you have some really good scores across the country tonight from some of these teams. So I'm starting to wonder, I don't know if any of these teams are necessarily in the South right now. I don't know that you can say that, hey, for sure, Bama, for sure, Georgia. I feel fantastic about Texas or, even Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't really played anybody that much yet. And so I'm still waiting to see some of these teams play somebody. But yeah, there's some good teams in this country, and I think that most of them are, up north or on the coast.
I've got my eyes in the Northwest, like you said, Garrett, with Washington and Oregon. Even Washington State and Oregon State look really good. I don't think I'm not talking about them going 12-0 by any stretch of the imagination, but it could be really fun 9 or 10 win teams. Absolutely.
Sure.
And I've also got my eyes on the Sunshine State because I do think Florida State is better than what they showed today. This game was like 31-10 at one point. I think they kind of fell asleep at the wheel in up in Chestnut Hill, and it was a weird weather game. We saw a lot of that around the country today. Also got my eyes on the Miami Hurricanes, guys, because I was really impressed by them last week. They followed that up with just a dismantling of Bethune-Cookman on a short week. They've got some big-time matchups coming up really, really soon. So I'm really excited to see how they handle another big test, especially later in the year when they get Florida State. I think they play Clemson as well this year. I can't remember if Clemson's on the schedule, but some big-time matchups coming for the Hurricanes. And, I think you got to look out at LA, too. I think, the offense at USC – we still don't know if they're half team or not, but USC, they were off today, but the offense is definitely going to be deadly. And UCLA quietly putting together a really nice start to the year. They got some kinks worked out. They made a quarterback change after Coastal Carolina. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were last year, but they're looking really, really solid early.
One more while I'm thinking about it, and there's a team that's 3-0 right now that's scored a whole bunch of points, and their opponents really haven't put up all that many points. That's the Duke Blue Devils. Look, they played Clemson, stomped all over them. I know they played Northwestern today, 38-14, pretty emphatic win there. They played, nobody last week and won by a bunch to a little again. I'm not saying that Duke is elite, but I don't think that they've shown you anything so far to say no, they're not. They played really, really good football. They played extremely good defense. Riley Leonard is that quarterback. So, look, we could be looking up at a top 10 Duke here in the next couple of weeks, depending on how things shake out.
Penn State as well. That's one more I'll throw in. Penn State is really good.
Too. They've been good.
I'll raise the yellow flag on Penn State a little bit, only because, guys, I don't know if they should have beaten Illinois today. Illinois kind of beat themselves. Luke Altmaier threw 4 interceptions today.
That's not good.
Not the answer for Burt Ball up there in the champagne room. But I think if Aller can take care of the turnovers, I think they should be fine going forward. I'm a little concerned about the trenches for Penn State. They haven't looked very impressive on either side of the ball, the offensive line or the defensive line. So even though I'm the one that picked Penn State to win the Big Ten, to go to the playoff, a little bit nervous about them. I completely agree with Florida State and Washington. I love both of those teams. Jordan Travis looked like he was a little dinged up at one point today, so I'm not going to hold a close call against Florida State. 18 penalties, by the way, for Boston College. That's a program record, and it's essentially what costs them the ability to maybe upset the Noles. I'll shout out the Big 12 teams. I think, and we'll talk about this in just a moment, I don't think the Big 12 is very good this year, but Texas and Oklahoma are looking good. Now, Texas, listen, they struggled against Wyoming. They pull away late. That's a veteran Wyoming ball club that they were in a dogfight with and found a way. With the backup quarterback, that is true. That is true. But when you're clunkers, and Oklahoma,
never leaving them off the hook. Come on,
guys. Oklahoma has a defense this year, and I know they haven't played anybody.
Yes,
I know they haven't played anybody yet, but they are trouncing teams right now. Mm-hmm. I think the Sooners are going to be a threat late in the season as well, especially with as soft as that schedule is. So, please let us know who you have as an elite team. Give a couple of points of reference. We like to build a legal case here, so defend your point. What's up, Garrett?
Before we move on, I do want to say 3 teams that we did not put on the elite tier right there: Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. Those are the 3 usual suspects, and they they might make up 3 of the 4 playoff teams this year, right? They might turn it around. They got good enough coaching staffs, good enough players on the rosters. They could turn this whole thing around and light it up for the rest of the year. And very well, they could end up there. But we didn't mention them now. They haven't looked good enough to mention them. It's kind of fun to have parity in college football like this. It's kind of fun to say, hey, look, it's not just the same usual suspects. There's some good teams across the country, and we're able to kind of spread it around a little bit,
Ohio State looked like they figured it out today a little bit, though. Ohio State's offense finally started to
click
today.
The beginning of the game. The beginning of the game was pretty rough.
Hate that for our ledger picks. We were all on the Hilltoppers plus the 29. That went out the door in the first half. Just kind of the start of a day of parlay pain for the fellas. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yes, please let us know if you've got an elite team. I will say, last comment here, Georgia can be elite. I think it's more likely than not that they are elite, but holy cow, they've got to get the offense out of first gear earlier in the game. I think the defense is really 100%. Good. I think the defense is really good, but my word, that offense has got to produce.
Gracious him! How about